I call the meeting to order. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay. Do we have any public comment tonight? Public comment going twice. Any public comment? 3 times. Public comment is done. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the March 1st meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, who was the first person that made the motion, please?
I'm sorry, that was Bob Finley.
Thank you, sir.
And who seconded it?
Stefan.
Stefan? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Viola water reports.
All
Walter.
right, for the month of March, everything was in compliance. We had some repairs we did in the plant, fires to secondary clarifiers. We had flow meter calibrated. Box truck was inspected. The roof was inspected. We had some leaks in the roof. Tim Connors came down. He inspected it with Soaptown Roofing, and he's getting some quotes from Soaptown Roofing for repairs and for replacement. And as far as collection system, we did some jetting on the siphon. We had a couple possible backups that didn't turn out to be backups. We did have one backup at 106 Meadow Street. And there was a blockage at Route 67 in Garden where we moved the blockage from Ray Street to all the way up to Roberts and 67. Manhole frame broken at 35 Charles Road. It's under the driveway. There was some damage to the guy's vehicle. He pushed the manhole frame. It must have been plowing in his driveway. But it's public sewer in his driveway. So I've been talking with Jim. So Jim's going to put something together for the repairs to the manhole frame and everything. But I have to get back to the guy about the damages to his vehicle. I guess we can have him send his quotes to Mr. Proto. Would that be correct?
You're going to send me the quotes for the manhole cover repairs?
I would like to ask him to send them to you, I guess, and then we can make a decision. Have the board make a decision on.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
What damage to his vehicle?
I don't think it was tons. It was a bumper and something else, but nowadays that could turn into a lot of money. So, anyways, no lost time accidents, safety training, fire prevention and response, and fire extinguisher use. And when I sent in the report, I also sent in 2 quotes for manhole frame and cover replacements. One is on 18 Briarwood Drive, and one is on 40 Maple Street. The one for 40 Maple Street is $3,500, provided we provide the frame and cover. Otherwise, it's $800 more. And the one on Briarwood is $2,800, or $800 more if we don't provide the frame and cover. And both of these need to be replaced. So I'd like to get a motion to have that done.
I'll make a motion,
Go ahead, Nick.
Nick. I'll make a motion to have that repaired.
You get a second?
I'll second that motion. Sorry.
Rob?
Just a question to Walter.
Sure.
You had said that there was an additional charge of $800 if we didn't supply something, and I didn't quite hear what it was, if we didn't, what that item was.
The work is to cut open the road, remove the old frame. We provide the frame and cover for the 2,800. He does, and then he does the asphalt and repaving and everything like that. If we want him to provide the frame and cover, it's an additional $1,800, $800, I'm sorry.
And what's the cost of the frame and cover to us?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. John might have it.
All right,
We have about 8 or 9 covers.
Don't we have
Frame.
some in stock, Walter?
We have some locking frame and locking covers with frames. We probably need to buy some regular ones without the locking covers for most of the streets.
So won't
Yeah,
a regular top fit in a locking top or no? I thought so.
Excuse me?
Won't
Oh,
a regular cover fit in a locking frame? So maybe you only have to buy the cover, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, that's very possible. I'm pretty sure some of the covers will fit those frames.
So if you call like Waterbury Foundry, a cover you probably get for a couple $100 maybe. Well, I don't know. I haven't bought a cover in a long time, but steals up,
Yeah.
But still, I don't think it'll be near the 2,800.
Well, no, the 2,800 is all for the work. But if he
The frame.
provided the frame,
The frame and the
Frame and
cover are an
cover.
additional $800 if they do it.
800. I'm sorry. Okay, I was going to say. But I don't know. I know if we have the frames and we just have to buy a cover, it might be worth looking into. I don't know.
Well, the other question I had, Walter, was if I recall, and Nick and Jim, you were here then, and I think Anne Marie was on the board then. We did something a while back. The board did something a while back in regards to manhole covers.
we had bought a bunch of manhole covers and frames, and this guy is the one that did the work.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So that was what the board did. I think was sometime last year.
Sometime
with Jim Galligan's recommendation that we put a manhole cover replacement plan in place.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that the new members were aware that this is an age-old problem that we deal with.
Well, it's never going to go away. Frames and
Right.
covers.
Right,
Yep.
but do we have, so how many do we target to do every year? Is there a plan or we just do them as they come up?
Well, I would,
Walter,
if we I don't know if we have a program where we go out and inspect all the frames and covers. Do we, Walter?
We get out and inspect a lot of them. We don't inspect every one of them all the time, no. But if we hear of any that are bad, we go inspect them, check them out. If they need, sometimes just the manhole cover comes off and it's got to be, set back down. Sometimes it's got to be. Sometimes the frame is so bad you have to replace the frame and cover.
But that sounds more.
I guess this is John Oatley. I guess.
Reactionary though. It sounds.
Yeah,
like,
this is John Oatley. There is no formalized manhole inspection program in place, which would be a system where you would divide up the number of manholes in the system and inspect both top and bottom of the manhole on some sort of frequency. EPA typically is between 5 and 10 years. EPA's recommendation for a manhole
don't-
inspection is
why don't
between
we
5
have
and
that?
10 years. It would just be a service that you would have to contract either us or someone else to perform.
That's not part of our existing contract. That's what you're saying.
That's correct. That's correct.
But, okay. So, and things like that, you just kind of bring it up that part. So from that side, should that have been written into the original contract? Or is that something?
Yeah, I mean, typical systems have what we call a CMOMS program. It stands for Collections, Maintenance, and Operations Management Plan, which would typically involve proactive jetting and cammering and manhole inspection on some frequency. So you would take, and the EPA typically recommends a cleaning and manhole inspection every 5 years and a CCTV inspection every 10. That was brought up at the last contract discussions prior to the contract being put out as an RFP and us bidding and successfully winning it. But at the time, the town did not entertain wanting to add that additional scope of services to our agreement.
Okay.
So now it is, our current agreement requires us to respond during, like Walter said, whenever there's a complaint or if there's a known defect.
Okay, and then stating that, so from a town perspective, I'd like to ask, well, I don't know who to ask, but did we have that in our plans to pick up the maintenance of those manhole covers and frames? I mean, if they weren't going to pick it up and EPA mandates the 5 to 10 year window.
It's not a mandate. It's more of a best practices. I think, Mr. Proto, you might recall, again, this is John Oatley, there was a decision by the Connecticut Supreme Court. I think you had illuminated to us that that preventative maintenance was not a mandate on behalf of the state of Connecticut. I recall you doing some research on that.
We actually had we were involved in litigation regarding that as to whether or not the failure to clear lines that resulted in a backup was negligence upon the authority, and the Supreme Court has ruled that it's a discretionary act. It's not a ministerial act. If you never clean out your lines, you're not liable for any backups as a result of that. We try to work with our customers when that happens, but there are some situations when they want to take us to court that we need to do in our litigation.
Can I ask how often?
Think, I'm sorry, Stefan, I was just going to say before I forgot, I'm going to forward to our new members. Actually, I'll forward to everybody in case both Jim and Walter don't have them readily available, a copy of the Veolia contract that we're currently operating under. So you have that for your files. I will do that this week.
Thank you. I was going to ask how, I see that we're dealing with 2 of them this month. How often do we typically deal with these ad hoc manhole cover issues?
It's hit or miss. There's sometimes where we don't get any, and then we could get 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, it happens more frequently around plowing, as you would imagine, coming in out of the winter. Plows hit them, pop them. Typically, you'll get a complaint for a rattle. People run over a manhole, it rattles, so somebody will make a complaint into Public Works, which will then get forwarded to us. And then anytime you have any sort of road paving activities going on, they typically raise and lower the manholes to meet the top of the finished grade of the asphalt.
This month we're looking at roughly about 6,000 to 8,000, somewhere in that range, for these replacements. And would you say that's a typical month on average? Or I know you say it comes and goes, but that seems like a lot of money per year.
We'll see Jim Galligan's on. He might have a better idea from an engineering perspective how often that activity is going on. We could certainly research the payment records for that information.
Yeah, hi, Stefan. Jim Galligan here. As John said, quite often this comes up in the spring after the plows have finished up. Some years we don't have any This year, I think we have 3 or 4. But typically what we try and do is head them off in the early fall to any of the people that are calling and saying that they're rattling and so on. That way we get prices ahead of time to try and get a bundle of them put together as one and try and get a better price that way. It just so happened that last fall we did not have any calls on damaged ones, or the ones that we did do, we took care of. These were 3 that came up because of plowing.
And Jim, do we have a program that checks every so many years that checks them, or is it just basically reactive calls?
No, to be honest, you really can't go and check every single manhole. As a rule of thumb, they all fit fine and stay fine. You have, I'm going to say, several thousand manhole frames and covers in the system, and typically you might have 2 or 3 in a year that need to be fixed. So that we really kind of respond to the requests, and then in the fall try and put together a repair program for the ones that are damaged.
I worked with Con Ed a lot, and they had a program where they validated all the manholes. Now they're dealing with, when you say 1,000, they're dealing with thousands, right, of manhole covers. But there is a program that they do check them on a standard basis. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, well, we're doing the sonar testing this spring, and part of that sonar testing that we're doing includes a manhole inspection, and that manhole inspection includes the manhole frame and cover. So the areas down off of South Main Street, which are the older system, the older manholes, the older sewers, we'll be able to do an inspection on those at the same time. But I haven't put together a system-wide program.
Okay, and it does make sense to do it when you're doing other things, right? I mean, that's probably a perfect timing.
Yes,
Part of my
especially if you have road paving planned, it's always a good idea to inspect those manholes ahead of that.
Yeah.
That's right. And Brian contacts me when they're getting ready to do paving. So the areas where they're going to do paving, we can certainly do the inspections.
Is this could be a dumb question, so pardon me. I'm not as familiar with this stuff yet. If we were able to identify issues earlier, more proactively, as Bob suggested, is there any cost savings on the actual repairs and replacement?
There is, if you can identify the list in the fall, because you can bunch them together and get comparative prices. But that's probably the best way to do it, is to try and get them as a bunch of as many as 10 or so, and then get prices from various people to do them.
So the only cost savings is like an economies of scale type thing. It's not.
Yes, that's correct.
This is a lesser problem if we identified earlier.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, excuse me, this is Walter. Some of these manhole frames and covers, like this one is on Briarwood's, broke in 3 places. It's one of these things where somebody could run over it and it could just collapse, and we've got an accident, we've got maybe injuries and stuff. So it's also could be a safety thing.
Yeah, well, that's why you know when you get a complaint for a loose cover, you respond to it, because the cover vibrating is what causes them to break. When they're fixed and in place, they're designed to handle traffic. So beyond just a cover and frame inspection, when you do a manhole inspection, it also includes a visual inspection down into the manhole, looking at other structural defects of the manhole itself beyond just the cover and frame.
Go ahead, Walter.
I'm done if unless anybody has questions.
The only thing I would add, if the commission would like to see what a typical manhole inspection report looks like, I can provide you with that for next meeting. Just for,
interested in that.
you know, reference future.
Yeah, I'd be
It
interested in that.
wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to see that, John.
Sure. Okay.
No other questions for Walter then? All right. Next is income report.
Good evening.
Jim,
This
don't
is
we
John
have a
Tomorrow.
motion?
Monthly income report is as follows. Total deposit amount is $94,204.07. Now, of that, the payment portal total for March was $22,320.26. This is the largest March, which is pre-billing, I might add, we've ever had. It's certainly in the last 2 years. In 2019, that was $22,000. And in 2020, that was about $24,000, okay? Some of this is certainly due to collection actions, most notably the Shady Knolls has paid their arrearage back. That happened at the first of the month. But the payment portal just adds nothing but value to it. Absolutely. Next up is your financial report. Your cash balance as of the end of the month is $266,882.85. Your capital reserve account is $1,069,470.32. And what else?
Do you have the budget numbers, John?
Well, the next one would be budget workshop. I have the latest up-to-date numbers. I've been filling in the actual income and the actual expenses. And with Mr. Oatley's assist, we have identified a couple of areas where the WPCA has done well in terms of being ahead of budget. One of them being capital, another one being the O&M budget, and all in all, your income's been certainly since your payment portal went online, it just blew up. And I mean, 22,000 alone, that's good. That's real good.
So from a financial perspective, John, we're about $44,000 under budget year to date on everything except capital, and you're about $120,000 under budget for capital year to date, 9 months into the fiscal year for the town. Well, for the WPCA, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So I guess the purpose of that discussion is simply to let the board know that the budget that they prepared last year, it was sufficient enough, at least at this point in time, to cover your expenses. With, like I said, ahead of where we projected to be by about 44,000 on everything except capital, and about 120,000 ahead of where you projected to be on capital, with 3 months remaining year to date.
That being said, Mr. Chairman, I would kindly ask that for next meeting, we actually set up an actual workshop where it's primarily, or a good portion of the meeting is primarily for the budget, and I can facilitate I can give all of the members the budget numbers so they can look at them, have any questions, prepare, any kind of queries they might have about income or expenses or what have you.
And that would be in preparation for next year's budget production, right, John?
Correct. That would be for the 2021 through 2020. And at that time, you would also look at a possible rate increase to keep us on target with the capital expenditure and hopefully upcoming bond.
Jonathan, this is Jim. Hopefully the May meeting we can do in person. We'll have to see what the town does. And then we can put that in the minutes to go over the budget. It'd be better in person, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
that's how
if not, Jim, we can certainly present to the group on Zoom. But those of you that aren't seeing it on the screen would be challenging. But we do have the ability to actually share our screens and provide the spreadsheets to the board. But I agree, it'd be putting on a presentation on a big screen with all the members is an easier presentation to host. So.
Well, John, the way you set it up last year was very good, and I think it just needs to be tweaked a little bit. So I don't think there's a lot of time, it shouldn't take much time to work it out.
Yeah, I think that's John's point. The sooner we get started, the sooner the new members and the existing members can get their heads wrapped around where we are and then where you'd like to go ahead of the new financial year starting in July, right, John?
correct. In fact, it was so successful once we actually got to meet together, and Mr. Oatley was able to present this on a screen, that quite frankly we were able to get it done in about 1-2 meetings, and it flew. But as for pretty much it.
Yeah. Can you put that in the next meeting minutes then? Hopefully we'll be in person.
The agenda, absolutely.
Agenda, I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right, invoices. Did everybody get a chance to look over the invoices Jonathan sent out? Any questions? Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
So move, Finley.
And a second?
I'll second that, Nick.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. You can pay the invoices. Legal report, Ben, you're on.
Sorry, I was on mute. Jonathan actually covered most of it. This past month has been pretty much dedicated to reaching out to our delinquent customers who have $4,000 or more in back charges, as the chairman had suggested in February, I think it was. And I've spoken to a number of them. A number of them have agreed to a repayment plan. A number of them have said they wanted to do a repayment plan, which I've sent them the repayment plan that they proposed, and they've not sent it back, nor have they made any payments. So we'll be following up with them this month. The payment portal has been working well, obviously, as you can see. And that really has been, this month has really been just trying to get money through the door. And between Jonathan getting us the information we need and people actually calling after they got a nice but stern letter that you owed us a bunch of money and there's the possibility we could foreclose on you, people started calling. So that's where we've been this past month, working on getting collections through, and unless there's any other particular issues that come up, obviously the manhole covers that Walter will have the stuff sent over for, we'll just continue to work on trying to get money through the door.
Ben, this is Jim. I have a question. Any news on nickel mine situation with that guy who's hard to get a hold of?
That guy's hard to get hold of. Both Jim and I have been trying to get hold of him. I've reached out to him a couple of times. I think Jim has reached out to him a couple of times. I think the next step is probably going to be a letter from me. I'll send a certified return receipt saying, we really need to fix this. We've been trying to reach you. You need to get in touch with Jim, because Jim's the one who needs to schedule to get out there. So that's going to be, I think, unless Jim, you've heard from him, and I've not heard from Jim that he has, but I think Jim would tell me if he had, because we've been trying to get hold of him for a while.
I mean,
No,
does he know that?
It all, Ben.
Yep. All right, so
Ben, you
we'll
were
get a
saying
letter.
by
I get a
law-
letter. Go ahead. What's that, Jim?
Because you were saying by law, we don't have to fix backups, but we do. We take care of the problem. But does he realize that it's a law? We don't have to take care of this? Just to kind of.
Right. I mean, I don't think he's claiming any damage, at least that I'm not aware of. We've been looking at trying to get into his property to be able to, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, we want to put a backflow valve in to ensure that this doesn't happen to him. And we're willing to pick up the cost to do it. And then he has to maintain it after the first year. That was the agreement that, we had told him we would do. He was amenable to that, and then has kind of gone radio silent.
Well, this was a backup he had first. We cleaned up. The second one was a small backup, right?
Walter, was there a second backup?
Yeah, the second one was smaller. The first one, there was the first floor bathroom, the hallway, and then he's got an office across from the hallway, and then someone went downstairs. And the second one, yeah, it definitely wasn't half as bad, but he never responded for the first one. We asked him to get,
Yep.
we'd like to get something in so we can get quotes to how much it's going to cost to repair, and it's never happened. Yep.
So I'm gonna send him a letter, let him know that we've been trying to reach him. He and I spoke a while ago, back last year during some of the shutdowns. I do know he works in Stanford, and he's there early in the morning and there till later in the evening sometimes. But I'll let him know in that letter that this is a situation that the WPCA is willing to pick up the cost to repair, but he has to cooperate. If he doesn't cooperate and we don't make the repair and there is another backup, we will not be making any payments for any damage. That would probably get attention relatively quickly.
Could you possibly suggest to him that maybe a contractor or a family member can have correspondence between you and, like a contact person if he's not around?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll copy Jim Gallagher on the letter. Excuse me.
All right. So you're all set, Ben?
I'm set.
Mr. Gallagher, what do you have?
Yes, I've got a couple things. The flow monitoring is now into week 4. That flow monitoring should be ending by the end of May. So that's going ahead smoothly. We're starting to look into the generator for the South Derby pump station. That generator is ancient and needs to get replaced. We're also looking to replace the in-ground or below-ground fuel storage tank for the North Derby pump station. and we'll have budget numbers for the commission for next month. And Walter has touched on the manhole frames, and those are pretty much the items that we've been working on.
Okay, any questions for Jim? Hearing none. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Any new business that came up? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I apologize. I probably should have touched upon it on my income report, but it does involve also Attorney Proto. We talked about, I believe, last month, Melissa Meridian perhaps mentioned it, is that late notices are a good idea. I believe we all agreed on that. However, Ben, I really would require some assistance with drawing a new one up, because I'm sure there's some legalese that I have no clue about that we should put in.
Yes, this is Melissa. I agree with Jonathan. It's definitely something we brought up. Your bills will be delinquent, end of April, May 1st, and I highly suggest, based on billing in other communities as well, doing a late notice in early May, right after interest gets put on, can help pick up, collections for anybody who may have thrown it out by accident or just misplaced or forgotten to pay it on time.
For all the people who've told me they've never ever gotten a WPCA bill.
Correct. Yep. Those
Never
two. Yeah.
So apologies about that, but
Yep.
if I could draw upon the assistance of Attorney Proto for that, that'd be really great. I mean, we have the old ones, but that was more of a lien notice rather than a late notice. So.
Yep. All right, we'll put something together.
Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. And there's no executive session that I know of. And that leads to the last piece. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Anthony.
Can I get a second?
Second. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next meeting.
Good night.
All right,
Thanks.
guys.
Good night.
We're done. Okay, we're done.